There is energy behind the scenes that your ancestors want you to know about, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and hop in. Again, thank you for joining me on Ancestors and Alchemists. I'm gonna be reading for you today, and I hope this resonates, and I hope that it is useful for you. So last night while I was doing readings myself, I heard this song in my head, and it had nothing to do with the reading I was doing. It was Dangerously in Love by Beyonce. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. In the middle of my reading, I start pulling up energy from an energy that was not what I was reading on. That energy was actually, it looked like your ex. And so it was the Magician. It was you, first of all, as the Two of Wands. It was the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. It was the Devil and then the Magician. Right? See my eyes? Because that's how I felt. And so I keep pulling, and all the energy that I'm reading off of this is that this person is doing spell work, but not in the way that you think, because your ancestors came through and they're lined up behind me, just talking and impressing upon me that this is the energy that is behind the scene. So whoever this ex was that you had, they miss you so much. Like that energy didn't even feel like spell work, like candles, right? No fingernails, no hair, right? It felt like projections. And the projection was like it was a lot that was affecting your money, actually. This person was trying to impose upon you like a tower moment. They were trying to stop your money. They were trying to stop your investing. They were trying to keep you from moving on. And it was such heavy, deep energy, because what they knew on, consciously, was that they loved you. But what they did not know, that ancestors were trying to warn, was that they were projecting onto you from the place inside of their love that was broken. While they are imposing all of this energy towards your money, towards like your business ventures, towards like your resources, to stop you from moving on, to stop you from being financially stable, which is what you want, which I'm hearing is what your ancestors promised you. They want to stop all of that just because they are heartbroken. And their love was actually not love. It was attachment. It was toxic. That's where we are. And so your ancestors are coming in again. They are talking about just how they are guiding you through this moment. And the energy, while the energy was vibrant and while the energy was heavy, what the energy also said, while they were imposing towers for you, they were not completed. But what they did was put out that karmic energy that's actually going to cause them a tower. It's going to cause every single thing that they projected onto you is going to bounce back onto them. I mean, that's why you don't mess with energy, and that's really why you don't mess with a divine one. So the reason why they pulled that up about the ex and what they were projecting onto you, there is something about that connection with that person that you are still digesting as the alchemist. You are erecting some serious boundaries about how you take care of yourself. There's something that you are working on right now that has put you in the status upgrade and CEO energy. And though these did come in reverse, it must be just because you have just started working on it, right? Like it is something that you are, the idea that you had, and now you're implementing it, and you're working really hard. And I hear your ancestors saying that they are so proud of you and to keep going, they're saying. I'm getting Queen of Pentacles energy. And so the reason why you're working so hard is in part, to take your focus off of whoever the ex was, or just your disappointment in love, period. And so you decided not to throw your work into your cups, right? You decided to throw your work into your resources, into your pentacles. And so the way in which you are still digesting that old relationship, your ancestors are saying there is a lot of programming that happened, not just with this ex, because the programming did happen with the ex, but there was some programming that you were digesting also around love, around what it is to be loved, around what it is to have relationship, with masculine energy, or vice versa, feminine energy. And so as I'm listening to, because, I'll have YouTube on, and I did go and listen to Dangerously in Love. I had to, because, I haven't heard that song in like years, literally. And so I go listen to it, and I'm listening to the lyrics, and then what keeps playing are like 90s hits, right? It's Keisha Cole, I want to say Ashanti, there was some Cassie on there. I didn't listen to that because I don't know who getting the proceeds from her music, so... And so there's a lot of music during that time that, in a way, programmed women how to respond and how to understand what it is that love means for us. So in Dangerously in Love, though, what the ancestors were saying with that song was, hey, this is love that's turned dangerous, or in other words, this is love that is toxic. So it's not a good example of love. It's one of those tainted examples of love. But that is what, if we are 80s, 90s babies, that is a music that we heard that programmed us in a way to want whoever our partner was to be something more to us than we were to ourselves. We're expecting in some way, because of the music, for that partner to complete us. But what I'm hearing the ancestors saying, and what I also see in your cards that you are starting to really understand, is that it is us that completes ourselves. Right? So that financial stability that you are really working hard for, and that is going to get you a seriously abundant, right? That is leading you to never, number one, never falling for the kind of relationship that the other person represented, because as we can see, that was not love. But also realizing for yourself what exactly love really is. What does love mean to you? How is it that you can feel whole in yourself and then expect and draw, because you've reached that frequency, right? Draw a love that is also whole in themselves. And it sounds like this is what the ancestors are really wanting you to pay attention to, because this is going to be important. That past person, it looks like they were a past life connection, and a past life connection so that you can learn what it is that love really is. That is, it's not this fake idea of attachment. It's not this thing wherein you have to believe that this other person has the other complete part of you. No, that's not what love is. Love is mutual respect. Love is honesty. Love is transparency, right? Love is admiration, because that person admires you, respects you, loves you, love your dirties, right? Like, and you love theirs. So it's mutually beneficial. It's not one-sided. It's not objectification. It's not domination, right? Because that's what the ex thought. The ex thought that love was, I'm going to acquire you, I'm going to conquer you, which is weird and gross, right? Like that's the idea of colonizing love. Like that's what happened to the native folks with pilgrims, right? No, I'm going to take care of you, but I'll give you all of the diseases and steal your land, right? Like that's not the idea of what love, the kind of love that the ancestors are calling you for. It looks like that ex is still kind of talking. We're looking at you identifying that mind games are not the way to get. They're not the way to define love, right? That is actually looking within. And that's work that the ex is not willing to do. You're really affected by it. It looks like this was a relationship that caused a lot of towers in your life, but for you, the towers were beautiful. The towers were really good. They alerted you to a lot of things, not just partners, right? But love and what the patriarchy has done to love, how the patriarchy has kind of convinced us to be an object in it rather than a participant in it with a partner, an equal one. All right. This is really strong energy. It feels like you're kind of in an uncomfortable space a little bit, maybe in some ways a little bit nervous. And in some ways still a little attached. So I still kind of feel threads of what this person, the implications of your relationship with this person. I still feel those threads, and they kind of feel a bit like insecurity, or in some ways maybe you feel not unstable, but just don't know, not quite sure how to proceed, not in some ways not quite sure exactly who you are, as if you there's some rediscovering of things that you need and want to. And so that's part of the gift of this. See, toxic love came out again. And I think it comes out in the reverse because that's your energy, right? Like you are not toxic, but where it came out was on this ex. So your connection, there is still a connection. There is still some threads that are connected to that ex, but they are connected in a way where you are not going to look for that kind of love anymore because you're learning the lessons from it. But that kind of love has still impacted how you see yourself, and in some ways how you may see whoever the next person is. Because while it doesn't say anything, oh yes it does. Yes it does. Forgot about that. So there is somebody coming in, but what you're being asked to do is make sure that you're not giving the power of your love just to this other person, that you are first supplying it in yourself. There are still some threads with this other person. It looks like you kind of feel a little bit wobbly or a little shaky. I'm hearing your ancestors say nervous on a lot of different fronts. Like I feel even like nerves towards the idea of love. So it's something in your heart chakra that maybe you haven't spoke out loud yet. There's some fears that you have about getting into a new relationship again. You have not exposed those fears, or is it fears? Hesitancy. That's a better word. It looks like the reason why you have those fears is because of the past relationship, that you're afraid that you are going to repeat the same patterns, like repeat the same habits, or take it how it resonates, or you're afraid that the person that you'll end up with will be like the old person. But your ancestors are saying the way that you mitigate that kind of hesitancy, right, is to find more out about yourself. So your foundation this time around is not based on who you are with this other person. Your foundation is based on who you are, period. So that's where your ancestors are asking you to be centered. That's where your ancestors are asking you to be grounded. That's where your ancestors are asking you to be in your bodies. There's a lot of Queen of Swords energy. There's a lot of Swords energy. And last night I saw a lot of Swords energy. A lot on the other person's, your ex's side, and a lot on your side. But you also have the Ace of Swords. If you're the Queen of Swords, you have the Ace of Swords. Usually we would think about that in terms of, oh, I have an idea. And while in your case that is true, right? Like you are brilliant, logical, like precise in the way that you think, methodical in how you think. The flip side of that brilliance is that you tend to have a little bit of anxiety, right? So once your one Ace of Swords kind of forms in your mind, what it looks like happens is because you are the alchemist, that sword can multiply itself. And so you might find yourself overthinking. You might find yourself overanalyzing. The overanalyzing turns to anxiety. The anxiety turns to all kinds of other things. And so with that many swords in your energy, they can't do anything but wound and cut up. Right. And so what your ancestors are saying, if you don't take those swords and condense them back into that idea, it ends up ripping you to shreds. The relationship with whoever this other person was, it's actually causing them lots of swords, and their ripping to shreds looks like wounding. It ends up affecting your entire body, your entire system, your life. And how it gets toxic is because those swords will multiply so much in the body that they end up multiplying in other people. So that's the toxic attachment, wounding. We share the same wounding. Your souls end up getting entangled and going through karmic cycles. Yay, fun, except for it's not. And so that's what it looks like happened here. But it also looks like you learned from this pattern, this lifetime. You learned how to identify toxic love. And so you don't really have to worry. I mean, you can worry, but that's just another sword that'll end up turning against us later, and we don't need that, right? So you can worry about like how the next person will be and how they're going to treat you. How will you treat them? You can worry about that if you want. Your ancestors are saying you do not have to, because what you're able to affect is your own thinking. And with that, that brings you to the frequency that you need to be at in order to attract the love that you deserve. You don't have to worry, my beloved. You will receive the whole, beautiful love that you exactly deserve. You've learned your lessons. You can exercise your discernment now, and you can go have fun. Okay? The warning that your ancestors had for you yesterday, I believe, this is part of it, where they lay out exactly what does it mean to protect ourselves. It's not just protection, energetic protection, though it is exactly that. Energetic projection. That's interesting. We'll tuck that away. So it's not just like this energetic protection. It's also, how am I changing the systems of how I function in the world? How am I learning to take up space so that I won't allow somebody else to take up more of my space than I take up? How is it that I'm walking through this world and learning, not just being wounded from the things that have affected me or the relationships that I've had, but how do I take those metals, those elements, and form them into something beautiful so that I can keep going forward, learning, growing, and adding to the world? And so it looks like this is one of your lessons. We are looking at past relationships. How did they help? How did they scar? How did they change us? Look like this one changed you into full-on Queen of Pentacles, right? But also, how did they add wisdom to you in order for you to go forward? And not harm, but to heal. Not just yourself, but all of those who you come in contact with. And it's that healing energy as you go forward that is going to add so much beauty and so much texture and so much love and light into the world. That is part of your mission. You're not going to be as impactful as you need to be if we aren't able to look at ourselves and say that, hey, we are another link in this chain of collective humanity. How can we do our part to add beauty and goodness in a world that is sometimes so dark? How can we add joy? How can we add love? And that's your work. It's got to hit you first, right? It's got to hit us first. And then we can pass it on. And with that energy, we are able to change everything. Okay? Okay, love you. Bye.